So welcome again, everyone. We're so excited that you're here, and we're so excited to share more with you about living Laudato Si, and especially about Mercy's vision and role in this movement. So you likely know by now, you've heard about the Laudato Si Action Platform. It's a 7-year initiative from the Vatican. It invites all kinds of different collaboration between international Catholic organizations, parishes, religious communities, and even individuals to collaborate from grassroots levels to global coalitions. And the idea is to respond to the environmental crisis that's fully around us. That's the point. So Pope Francis talks about in Laudato Si that it's rooted in the strengths and the realities of communities around the world, empowering all to take decisive action here and now as we journey towards a better future together. So the Sisters of Mercy of the Americas, the Institute, is among more than 400 religious congregations around the world that have made the commitment and enrolled in the Laudato Si Action Platform. There are 7 goals that are part of this platform, part of this commitment that we've made. You're going to hear a little bit about some of those this afternoon, but I'll quickly tell you that they are the response to the cry of the earth, the response to the cry of the poor, ecological economics, sustainable lifestyles, ecological education, ecological spirituality, and community resilience and empowerment. There is no quiz. We will send you a bunch of resources. You don't need to remember those for now. But this afternoon, you're going to hear from a variety of Mercy leaders on the many ways that the Sisters of Mercy and all of our many ministries are already deeply, deeply involved in this work of environmental justice and care of our common home. You'll also have the opportunity to reflect a little bit on your own and our own individual responses. And we hope we can answer lingering questions, provide resources, and expand on what Mercy can uniquely offer to this project, as well as highlight some of our incredible ministries. I just want to acknowledge, again, the incredible work of Mike in the background on this tech stuff, of Marianne in the lead role as our coordinator, and of the ILT in particular for their support of this continued project. We truly believe that our Mercy charism and mission compel us to take decisive action in response to the climate crisis of our time. So we think it's important to begin this work by grounding our response to Laudato Si in mercy itself. Our first speaker is Sister Ann Curtis, who currently serves as the Executive Director for Mercy Ecology. Sister Ann has served in numerous leadership roles, including 2 terms on the Institute leadership team from 2005 to 2017. Previously, she served as a lobbyist at Network, a justice coordinator for the region in Rochester, a case manager, a missionary in Santiago, Chile, and as a high school educator and campus minister. Sister Ann holds degrees in psychology and theology and numerous certificates in Spanish, ecology, and spirituality. Sister Ann Curtis, the floor is yours.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak a little bit about why Mercy is called to engage with Laudato Si. And I think I need to first start with a bit of a confession. In 1995, at the chapter, when the sisters from the Philippines brought forward their proposal to include care of creation in the direction statement, I admit I had a lot of questions about it and wasn't really sure that we should be including it. And it wasn't because I didn't think that there was a real need to think about and act and work towards care of creation, but I wasn't sure it was part of our charism. I thought that's what Franciscans do. Well, thankfully, it wasn't up to me, and the chapter body had the wisdom to include it in our direction statement. And we have been working on that or towards that ever since. And I would have to say for myself, I believe that I have also evolved myself in terms of how I understand this and why now I really am steeped in and committed to and understand that it very much is part of our Mercy charism to be engaged in care of creation. And I'd like to step back a little bit and give a little bit of grounding or rootedness for this. And first of all, we know that Earth and the large universe that we're part of is alive, it's expanding, it's full, it's not static, and it continues to move forward. And along with that, we also know that we, the human species, have walked on Earth and used it as if it were an inanimate thing for us to do with as we will. It has been seen as an object rather than as a subject. And that's based on a frame or a worldview, a story that has been part of generation upon generation, and in particular in Western cultures in the United States, where we have been greatly influenced by a worldview that came from our forebears with a Greek understanding of life, about a static universe, and that human beings, even in our biblical tradition, coming out of, in particular, the Genesis creation stories, have had a misunderstanding of some of what that meant, where it says that God created the human to have dominion over. We really have taken that, and it has become very deep in the psyche, this dominion over. But that's really a misunderstanding even of how that word is to be interpreted. And that underlying consciousness has really determined how centuries of people have lived, how cultures have organized, how religions have built their beliefs and practices, the sense that the human is over and above all the rest of created life. So that working cosmology, view and understanding of who we are and the cosmos, where humans dominate, control, and use the natural environment as if it were a possession, continues to shape very much our behavior and how we act in the world. Actions flow from whatever our worldview or frame is. And basically, that can be summarized in a sense that the human species sees itself as one of domination, that life is hierarchical, static, mechanistic, that there's a very dualistic view that is brought to bear on the way things are, the separation or things as seen as either ors, matter and spirit, science and religion. And it's really created a separation of the human species from the natural world. And that it's viewed, the natural world is viewed as without life or spirit in a very rational way. We did not understand ourselves as part of creation, and that we are all interconnected and related. This is expressed in Laudato Si, number 2, in this way, that we have come to see ourselves as her lords and masters, entitled to plunder her at will. The violence present in our hearts, wounded by sin, is also reflected in the symptoms of sickness evident in soil, in the water, in the air, and in all forms of life. This is why the earth herself, burdened and laid waste, is among the most abandoned and maltreated of our poor. She groans in travail. So that frame or story, that worldview, shaped how we understand the divine and our spirituality as well. However, Thomas Aquinas said, a mistake about understanding creation results in a mistake about understanding God. Every creature is a word that reflects the wisdom of God, an icon of the divine. So we're also aware that in the 20th century on, our understandings have enlarged. Scientific discoveries, the astronauts' view from outer space, that image, that view of Earth from outer space, as well as the thinking and the writing of many theologians, such as Desjardins, Thomas Berry, Beth Johnson, Dennis Edwards, and others, have helped us understand that the universe story is our story. This has incredible implications for everything. The underlying consciousness we hold affects everything. how we see and understand life, how we act, how we make meaning, what we value, what we choose, our spirituality. So what we're learning, what we've come to understand, is really the sense of a movement from ego to echo, moving from a rational age, which made wonderful contributions to life, of course, to one of integration and wholeness, of higher, more unitive consciousness, of interconnectedness, mutuality, inclusiveness, where the divine infuses all of creation. The universe is the revelation of the divine. Beatrice Boutreau said it this way: we need a new theology of the cosmos, one that is grounded in the best science of our day, so that all the world turns sacred again. So all the world turns sacred again. So what does this mean for mercy? What does it mean for those who are named mercy? You know, as we as a species teeter on the brink of extinction or transformation, I believe mercy is needed now more than ever. Thomas Berry said, the environmental crisis is fundamentally a spiritual crisis. And if you put it in that context, it really shifts things. So our charism, mercy, that gift of merciful presence and response, a compassionate response to suffering that's called forth by the pain or need of another, something felt deeply and then responded to, is what really draws and motivates and moves us. That call of compassion that Jesus bequeathed to his disciples, as expressed in Matthew's gospel, where he said, I am the hungry who need food, the thirsty who long for drink. I am the stranger seeking hospitality, the naked without clothes, the sick and the imprisoned. As you do to these, you do to me. Really gives us that understanding that mercy is incarnational. It sees, feels, responds. Mercy is embodied. So this is the call to mercy and justice that finds response among those who are dedicated to the mercy mission today. That we see, feel, respond. And with this listening ear, we hear another call in that call, another story, an expanding view, the story of the universe that's been evolving for 13.7 billion years. We're being invited to listen to and learn the story of the cosmos, both from scientists and from our biblical scholars, theologians, ethicists, all religious and spiritual seekers. Today, the call is to change not only painful and unjust situations, but the consciousness that creates them. Today, we're called by our deep story, the new cosmology, and the world's needs. Is mercy, those who are vowed or covenanted to serve the poor, sick, and ignorant. We've mostly understood that in terms of response to persons. We educate people. Healing is directed to people. Social services are in response, in particular, to poverty and suffering and so forth. But evolutionary understandings that may not have been featured in Catherine's consciousness, even though she was responsive to the need of her time with the mercy response, where she allowed her consciousness to be stretched to meet new demands, that same call is before us today. How do we feature a more expanded view of the universe, a new sense of consciousness, the new needs of today? So our consciousness in theology and spirituality calls us to expand our notion of who or what is sick, poor, ignorant. Earth herself is suffering and sick, oppressed. Earth's creatures, soil, air, water, are suffering. This is the new cry of the poor, the other than human poor. It's also a cry that is intimately connected to those in the human community whose plight Jesus brought to our attention. Those who hunger and thirst, who lack adequate food, water, shelter, and who are marginalized and imprisoned. The urgent call to mercy and justice comes now with not only a social, but also an ecological ring. They cannot be separated. Economic poverty coincides with ecological poverty. The poor, those who are poor, suffer disproportionately from environmental destruction. Reflection about the natural world under threat becomes more complex when we take into consideration the links that exist between exploitation of Earth and injustice among human beings themselves. That's the great contribution, I think, of Laudato Si, that connection, that linking, that interweaving of cry of earth, cry of poor. Structures of social domination and economic systems based on consumerism are chief among the ways abuse of earth is accomplished. Social injustice has an ecological face. The ravaging of people and the ravaging of the land go hand in hand. The edge of our circle of mercy must be widened to include earth and all life. Our common home must be understood as what is calling us to greater mercy. Pope Francis proposes this as integral theology, embodied and lived out as a global spirituality centered on the reality and effective power of mercy. Mercy is often understood through the story of the Good Samaritan, who our neighbor is. Cosmic thinking invites us to focus not just on the human characters in this story, but also on our neighbor, the animal, the trees, air, water, and engage all with compassionate, neighborly love. It invites us to reverence all of creation and the creator of all that is. In Laudato Si, again, it says, caring for our brothers and sisters means caring for the home we share. This responsibility is essential. Our mercy charism must be grounded in evolving consciousness in a widened circle of who and what is included. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Ann. Thank you for that emphasis on interconnection and the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor, and really grounding us in mercy and connecting us to the critical concerns. With that background in mind, we'd like to move to two examples of mercy in action on some of these Laudato Si goals. Our first presenter is Sister Virgencita Allegado, whom we all know and love as Jen. She's an institute minister in the Philippines and school directress of Holy Cross High School in Mindanao. She is a member of the Sisters Association in Mindanao and has been actively committed to environmental justice work. Sister Jen, the floor is yours.
Laudato Si response of the Sisters of Mercy in the Philippines. First is how to reinvent, reduce, reuse, and recycle plastics. Our three mercy schools here in the Philippines, in responding to the call of Pope Francis to care for our common home, are reusing plastic bottles. One is making eco bricks. As you see in the picture, the eco bricks have several uses. They are used for gardening, for planters, to be base of the post, and to tables, for fence, and many more. Other plastic wrappings could also be recycled. It depends on the creativity of the students. Others make them into a purse, as you see in the picture, or a handbag, plastic flowers, and planters. These are some of the projects of our senior high school students. One very important response that our schools do is really to reduce the use of plastic. We encourage students to bring their drinking water container instead of buying bottled water. We also stopped selling bottled water in the canteen. Teachers try not to give projects to students that will use plastic. We also are all involved in sustainable organic gardening. The schools and our convents have organic gardens even if we have small areas. But for now, only teachers are here in school, so the teachers are taking care of the organic garden. We also have water tanks as rainwater catchers. Here in Holy Cross High School, we are very dependent on the use of rainwater for almost everything except drinking. We still get our water for drinking from the spring. So we are still lucky. We still have the fresh water from spring. Kitty's kabuhatan along the Malindang Ranges in Misamis Occidental is another response to the call for being one or in harmony with God's creation. The project started last 2001 with an area of 20 acres. If you can see in the pictures, it is really a forest now. This area, the whole area just looks like this, only grass grows. But then our sister Socorro Largo really made it into a reality to reforest the area, which is supported by the Institute. Any visiting sister in that time were asked to plant a tree or a fruit tree. So those who visited this place, I think they have a tree. Kitty's Kabuhatan is named after Catherine McAuley. Now it is a forest which other God's creation like birds and wild animals find a home. Our sister who stayed in this place, in this little house, is a voice of the indigenous people also. She supported and empowered them in their advocacy against mining and against monocropping. Sibarok Jimenez Misamis Occidental is another place which really focuses on ecological education and ecological activities. It is a center for alternative recreation of Earth. This started in 2010. This queues here used to be the place for seminars, recollections, meetings of ecological advocates. Now it's already dilapidated. We also have a sister who really stayed in the place in this Nipahat her. She is not only witnessing a life of simplicity, but she really helped educate the people in the area on how to care for the earth. Since this queue is dilapidated already, we are now building a new place to continue with the education and other ecological activities. As you see it now, it also looks like a forest. Half of the area is really for just trees, but half of the area also is used for raising pigs, raising chicken, turkey, and other ecological activities. So the youth of the parish and our students come to the place to be educated and to help care for the earth. Mercy Community Hospital Incorporated responds to Laudato Si. One is hospital waste management. Any disposable plastic cups, bottles, fork, spoons, styrofoam, and other single-use plastics are not allowed in the hospital. Right at the entrance, there is a big signage. Another is the waste shredding machine. The application of the waste shredding machine is that hospital waste such as vials, ampules, and tubings are disinfected and placed into the machine, which produces small particles that can be mixed with cement to build fences, flooring, and others. In other words, really used for construction. Papers are also shredded and is made into organic fertilizers. One of the big signage in the hospital is this climate change. In Visayan, dili pa ulahi ang tanan, aduna pa kitay mahimo. Moondang na kita sa paggamit sa plastic bags, plastic cups, plastic bottle, straw, o styrofoam. In other words, it's really saying, let's say no to plastics. A friendly reminder from Mercy Community Hospital Incorporated. The Sisters of Mercy made a resolution to really ban the use of single-use plastics. We shared the resolution with parishes and also our local governments. We got a very positive response to that resolution. Another response that is continuing at this time is tree planting. You see here, one of our schools, Mercy Junior College, showing students and teachers planting trees. But this is done in all the other schools. And also in ministries where sisters are serving the indigenous people are also planting trees with the people, with the indigenous people. So here in this picture, we have the indigenous people planting trees, and we have our sister, this one, helping them in really helping plant trees. Another sister also serving with the indigenous people in the Diocese of Ipil, Sister Mary Galing, the sister here with the hat, is also participating in the tree planting activities as initiated by the diocese also in response to Laudato Si. With her in the picture are priests, sisters, and even the bishop, the very front. And other lay partners. So as of this time, these are the very basic that we do, though there are still many other things that we have done and are still doing to respond to the call of Pope Francis to care for our common home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen. Our second example from the Mercy World tonight features the Mercy Conference and Retreat Center in St. Louis. Familiar to many of you, they sent us a video showing us how they've used their beautiful grounds to continue to further the goals of Laudato Si and to further the critical concern of Earth in the Mercy World. So hopefully you've had a chance to learn a little bit more about the Laudato Si action platform and hear some more about what's going on in the Mercy world and how we are already working on many of these goals and hope to continue them in the future. So at this time, I'd like to reintroduce Marianne Comfort, who is our main liaison with the Laudato Si action platform. She's going to give you some more concrete steps and wrap us all up tonight. So Marianne.
Thanks so much, Angie. What a wonderful program. We started off grounding ourselves in mercy and why we're called to this journey as mercy. And then hearing these examples from the Philippines and from St. Louis is so helpful and so inspiring. Thank you, Anne, for talking to us about how mercy needs to now incorporate caring for creation. And that calls us to pray differently, to think differently, and to act differently. And in the many ways in which they are responding to Laudato Si goals, the caring for the earth, which would be the planting of trees, and then there's eco-spirituality and the eco-education. So we're so grateful for that work. And then in St. Louis, Mercy Center, really caring for the grounds in that spirit of Laudato Si. I want to encourage people to look at our website, which we share with you here, Laudato Si, sistersofmercy.org/Laudato Si. You can email us at laudatosi at sistersofmercy.org. And that would be a place to ask any questions you have. And also please share with us your stories of living Laudato Si and how you're looking at these 7 goals. And send pictures. We want to be able to share the story widely of all the ways we in Mercy are engaging in this journey together. So thank you to everyone for joining us this evening, and I'll turn it back to Angie.
And thank you, huge thank you again to the ILT, to the interpreters, to all of the participants, to everyone. We know that the work is happening out there. We know that the vineyard, you saw how the vineyard is flourishing. There's so much happening in the Mercy world, far beyond the Laudato Si action platform being an official call. So it's about naming that and then adding our power to all of the other congregations doing the same thing. We have further resources for you. We'll be sending those out with the recording, with trying to get some questions answered for you. So all of that will be coming. We do have some very concrete institute-wide ideas to give you for further action and that you can also pass along. And we just want to hear more from you. What are you doing? What's going on? Again, we know that you're the experts out there doing the work. So we have an incredible website that is specifically for Mercy's participation in the Laudato Si action platform. You can see it right there, sistersofmercy.org/Laudato Si. So it's easy enough to find. We also have a direct email address for these kinds of questions. You can email any of us on the Justice team, but this is a great way to have it go directly. And then maybe you've already seen the first in the blog series, but we have some incredible contributors who are going to be writing blog posts, again, making that connection between the critical concerns, the concrete work on the ground, and these Laudato Si goals from across the Mercy world. So thank you all so much for your time. Please be in touch, and we hope that we will hear more from you soon as we keep living Laudato Si.